Hey students, welcome to our video here on the cash flow budget that we've been working on with cash flow of this swine feeder operation and how to create a projected income statement and balance sheet. So in this video, I want to go over this step by step. You can use that to pause and stop and back up. But let's first start with what we have. Now this is our homework, swine cash flow key. So if you go to the revenue and expense sheet, for example, this file is also available online. You will see all of these numbers already filled out. They all come from the resource page. I already actually did the cash flow with you as well in class, and we ended up here at the very end with a total for December net cash flow of 8.9 million, and then total matches it. So that kind of lets us know we're in good shape. And these were done as two separate ways of looking at the cash flow, and because they have the same number, it kind of makes us confident that we're looking at this correct. And basically the answer is we begin with no cash on hand. We get 2 million from investors. We sell 15.6 million dollars worth of pigs. That means we got 17.6 million to work with. If you total up all our expenses all the way across, which is simply what I've done here in this total column, you get total expenses of outflow of cash of 8.45 million. Now, not only do you have that, but you've got a loan payment that has to be made with principal and interest. Again, just totaling these rows. And then you got to put cash down right up front of this money to get those assets purchased. You've got, again, 186,000 worth of money out for assets. So you got 8.5 million worth of expenses almost out, 186,000 assets out, and then so simply it is the cash flow. It is, jumped on the wrong page. It is total available minus the operating, minus the assets for cash, and that is the same number if you did it by the month. You know what I mean? You ended with October of this, and so you began November with that, and then you just took it out by the month. So really it lets you look at cash flow every month, which it really get kind of low there in February because we spend a bunch in February, but then you get a chance to sell that first set of March, and you can see the cash flow kind of builds from there. So overall, this is looking pretty good. So I wonder what our profit and loss would be, and I wonder what the balance sheet would look like. We think our cash flow is in good shape, so that's where we're at. That is what we're working on here in this video. I'm going to start off with the income and expense statement. Now this is super easy. With income and expense statement, I've given you the outline. I've given you the balance sheet outline. You just need to take this file and get it complete. So let's go through it, just fill it out. This is also not by the month, it's by the year. So how much money did we sell in pigs? Just equals, jump to the cash flow. That's another reason why I did that total column. We sold, keeps jumping over, we sold 15.6 million worth of pigs. Hit enter. Wrong cell there. Hold on just a second. It keeps going back to this other spreadsheet I have in my way. All right, so we're going to delete that, start all over again here. As soon as it lets me delete it, get rid of all of that. Okay, now equals. Just go to the cash flow, go to that sale of pigs across all the years, all the months I mean, hit enter. We don't have any inventory adjustments. I haven't added that complexity to it. And net sales will just be equals. Well, we have that much in pig sales minus any adjustment we need. And the answer is we sell 15.6 million worth of pigs. All right, the first is cost of goods sold. What about buying those pigs? Well, let's press equals and let's go over to the cash flow. And buying the pigs is right there, 4 million worth of pigs. Hit enter, that brings that over. Gross margin is equals. It's your sales minus your cost of goods sold. That's 11.6 million. All right, feed, let's go grab that. Equals. Where's my feed? It's in the cash flow, already totaled right there. Enter. Now, medications is not in the same order as feed was. So if I go back to the cash flow, feed's here, underneath it is feed or pigs. Then you kind of start with everything's in order. So just make it simple. Just press equals, go to the next line there. 160,000 worth, hit enter, there it is. Now the rest of these are in order, so I'm just going to drag them all the way down to machine repair. Now let me go back to the cash flow. Machine repair is here. There wasn't any repairs that we had. I don't guess so. Let me go back and double check that. We did have machine repair right there. So that is missed in our cash flow. So we made a mistake there. Well, let me go and look. Machine repair is there, but it is not in the cash flow. How did that get missed? So I'm going to press equals in my cash flow and fix that. I'm going to have to go back to the revenue and expense sheet, and machine repair was right there. Press enter, and then just drag that all the way across those months. And there, machine repair drops in. That automatically updates my cash flows. They still balance, so I'm still in good shape. All right, so there's an edit for you that was missed in the original work. If I go back to my income and expense statement, that also brings that in now. So that's there. That makes more sense. So those are all completed. What about interest? If I press equals and go to my interest payment, that's the only thing that's part of our expenses, not principal. So I'm going to go back to my cash flow, and I'm going to go over here to interest, and that's what I paid in interest. What about depreciation? That is equals. That is not in the cash flow. We talked about that earlier. That's in your revenue and expense sheet, and that was just simply listed right here at the end, $750,000. Enter, that brings that in. So do a total of expenses. You can just do equals sum, totals them all up for me automatically. Don't have any extraordinary items, which could be something that could be listed. And then basically net income is equals gross margin, already got that part figured, minus my expenses. So the profit is $114,000. So $6,114,716.62 to be exact. Now, this is what your profit and loss is based on what we calculated. However, you have to kind of check yourself. Are we correct? Well, to do that, I'm going to go to the balance sheet. And this kind of helps me make sure I'm in good shape. So these are all spelled out for you. You just have to calculate what the values are. So let's go take a look. First of all, this is a balance sheet, which is done at the end of the year. So balance sheets are always as of a date, and this is going to be the end of the year. So cash equals, well, based on the cash flow, we ended with $8.758 million. Now, what about our assets? Well, the assets had a value when we first got started. Let's go back to equals. Let's go to our revenue and expense sheet. These assets, actually I might go to a resource page, it's total a little better here. The resource page said these assets have a total value. So the feed system is $115,000. So I'm going to press enter. That's what that was worth. Wait, assets other, my bad. Assets other was going to be the assets our investors put in. So the resource page is the place to go. And our assets from investors were $10 million. There we go. Now the feed system equals resource page again. It was worth, we financed part of it, put some money down, but it's worth $115,000. What about the building? Well, it's located right underneath it, so I can just pull that down. Now, what about depreciation? Now, this should be listed as accumulated depreciation, which means that we have these assets, and in our profit and loss, I'm going to put a minus in front of that because, back to the resource page, that means $750,000 has come off of these assets worth. So now that we have these, I can just add them up. I can do equals sum and total them. Or remember, the shortcut is basically just go up here and use the auto sum. And it's going to try to calculate everything above it, which is what I was after. Press enter. There it is. All right, total assets. Let's see if this works. So equals. Cash is worth that much. Assets after their depreciation is worth that much. So I got 19 million, a little over 19 million in assets. Now, let's go over here to liabilities and equity and retained earnings. Let's go take a look at that. First of all, I don't have any, no, I do have debt. Let me look at this. In fact, my resource page might tell me. It looks like that we borrowed $900,000, right? That we borrowed. So I may go ahead and just add that up right quick. That might be a handy thing for me to have. Let me just add up. I borrowed $900,000. Now we paid back the loan, but we only paid back that much in principal. So if I were to go to my balance sheet, then these will be long-term assets. So short-term is 0. Long-term is going to be equals. Let's go back. My resource page tells me I borrowed $900,000 minus I've only paid back $11,667. So that means I've actually got that much debt as my current balance. All right. Now, equity and retained earnings. Let's start with retained earnings. Well, we just calculated it equals. This is our first year, so retained earnings is whatever our net income is. So that's where that comes from. Investor funds equals. Let's go back and look at our resource page. Investors gave us $2 million in investment money, but we also had our investors equals gave us $10 million in assets. Enter. And so that means that we've got total liabilities and equity of equals current liabilities, long-term liabilities, plus our retained earnings, plus our investor funds, plus the capital that was given to us in assets. And if I press enter, that actually equals the same values. If I wanted to kind of check that, I could just say, well, this minus this is 0. That's what we're after. So if you're off, do this subtraction between these two, and maybe it'll be a number that clues to you something you've missed in here. But that's kind of how we finish out with the balance sheet. All right, so hopefully this video helps you see the steps. We're going to go over this some together, but this is an additional resource I hope you can use to follow your work. Thanks.